presentation to show, but I have a few points to discuss, if you may allow. Thank you, Deepak, for setting this up. It's a very unique kind of an environment where there are a lot of you who have gathered to talk about a topic which is really at the bottom of the priority for most of the schools. I would try and bring an independent view on ICT in education, particularly focused on schools, but I'll also touch upon higher ed, as I saw some interest from some of you in higher education. I have some good news and some bad news. So if I may ask, what news do you want me to share first about ICT in education?
Start with the bad news.
Start with the bad news? Okay, the bad news is that it's extremely hard. And it's not any particular segment or a group of individuals or institutions to blame, but it's extremely hard for ICT entities to make money in education sector. I've dealt in education sector from various standpoints, and I hope there aren't many educationists here. If there are, then they are going to kill me. But despite all the benefits that ICT gives, despite there are the advantages of ICT in education sector, we have seen very poor or at best moderate adoption of technology. In fact, some schools, they define, if you talk to some schools, may not be in Delhi, but outside of big metros, saying that do you have any technology? They say yes, I have technology. Then you go and ask a step further, kya karte hain aap technology? No, I have what was that thing? Gmail. That's technology. Some very progressive schools have a Facebook page as technology. Not to say that all the schools should be on have web presence and ERP and CRM type of environment, but even the basics are missing. So let me just talk about numbers, which is also the good news. It is huge. In India, if you look at primary, secondary and senior secondary schools, there are over 1.2 million schools. That's absolutely the largest in the world. There isn't any country, I mean, people talk about 1.2 million students in most of the countries as saying that, we have a large population, but we have 1.2 million schools. We have more than 12,000 CBSE schools, very, very extremely, rapidly growing. And hopefully in the next 5 years, maybe 6 years, we'll see about 18 to 20,000 CBSE schools. There are over 100 IB schools. Fastest growing region for IB, which is International Baccalaureate, a new board that has come in, is India. They have declared India as the focus region in terms of increasing capacities. We have close to 2,000 ICSE schools and quite a few IGCSE schools. So there are very progressive schools as well. And the biggest good news, and which is very unfortunate, is that most of the schools, and I would not be perhaps incorrect to say that over 99% of the schools in India are extremely poor in quality. Extremely poor, so poor that when we look at higher education, you talk to certain professors, you talk to academia, you talk to the industry folks, saying that why is despite all the talent, human cry, why is India not doing well? You look at any indices, human development indices, competitiveness, the efficiency of Indian labor, most of it points boils down to or points towards poor schooling. The vocational training guys, they say the raw material that comes is very poor. There are studies that are done in India. We talk about schools with technology infrastructure. There are studies that are done which talk about the basic infrastructure, which has toilets for boys and girls, separate toilets, adequate number of toilets for boys, adequate number of toilets for girls. What percentage, and these are all government, I mean, you can go and download from Ministry of HRD site and other sites. Various NGOs have done studies. People talk about toilet as the unit to say that what kind of schools are we producing. And I mean, that's a very, and people talk about, there is one very fundamental thing, Gurucharan Das has written about it in several articles, and a lot of intellectuals in Delhi talk about it. What is the percentage of schools that has more than one teacher? Schools with more than one teacher. So that's and it's not insignificant percent. That is why it is being captured in various surveys. So on the one hand, we are talking about schools with enough number of toilets for girls, schools with boundaries, schools without boundaries, meaning boundary wall. Schools with pakka roofs, schools without pakka roofs or pakka structures. Schools with access road to main road within 1 kilometer or not. And so this is one extreme. The other extreme is when we talk about very sophisticated technology, like what we've discussed. Of course, all of it is needed. We need, as also identified beautifully by the Planning Commission, we need three different things in Indian education system. One is this entire focus on equality. The second is entire focus on expansion. And the third is focus on excellence. So what we've been talking about does cover excellence, and that is the good news that, within the limited scope, and I use the phrase deliberately, that the scope of technology is limited, and I'll elaborate on it. How much time do I have, Deepak? Okay, thanks. So within the limited scope of implementation of technology in schools, limited in terms of what technology can do, and where technology can be applied. Where meaning which types of school or which types of colleges or universities or segments. That's also limited. Although, as Ritesh pointed out earlier, there are the number of internet users, the mobile device, the access, all that is increasing. Certainly, it is increasing, and it's increasing faster than what many of us can think. Still, if we look at any initiative which is deployed in an educational institution, it has to be necessarily a lowest common denominator. So we cannot, for example, say that 80% of the children have access to a PC at home, and therefore let's just start having homework on PCs at home. What about those 20% students? How will they do? What will they do? Will they go to will the teacher go and say that you go to neighbor's house and use a computer? Just because we are now ICT enabled school, and we have everything paperless school, and everything, all assignments on online. That's not possible. So it's school, and education is a very delicate and different business. We need to have balance, much to what the modern social capitalists talk about. We do need balance, and we do need initiatives that have lowest common denominator, and which brings us to the biggest challenge for the ICT players or ICT stakeholders, so to say, in the ecosystem, to develop not things, and I think Saket said it very beautifully, not just copy paste saying Khan Academy chal gaya, let us all do Khan Academy. That's all, most of the people say, oh, abhi isme kya, it is all content, just put it online and just get going, everybody will learn, self-paced learning, personalized learning, all of that will happen. Forgetting that when we again look at certain studies in India, our level 1, level 2, level 3, which is class 1, class 2, class 3, the metric is not what the Western world follows. Our metric is class 1, whether the child is able to recognize all alphabet. Class 2, whether the child can do basic addition, subtraction, etc. Class 3, whether the child can understand easy sentences, like get me milk, mere paas aao, that sort of thing. Now, there are ICT packages, softwares, companies saying class 1 onwards, this is what is applicable. Now, there is a clear mismatch, because ICT is relatively easy to do. It is mostly done in within the boundary of offices, unfortunately. Whereas the school is a very dynamic environment. You have to look at the spread. You have to look at the access which is the lowest common denominator. You have to look at, which is the most difficult part, to look at the limited amount of money being available with the educational institutions to be able to buy the technology, buy ICT interventions, whatever. Even if they are cloud, someone is paying for hosting, right? The money has to come from the institution. So with that background in mind, the problem is really complex. The market is huge, the demand is huge. There are challenges with regard to still access of internet related devices. About technologies, we were involved in one CSR-ish project with the government of Jharkhand, and there are 2,000 schools that they made some sort of a consortium and said, हमें ICT चाहिए, everybody is talking technology, we don't even have basics, so we want used computers, and can you please help us? We just want one computer in every school, we will dedicate people and all of that. So that's the current state. And those through government, they came to us and we said, we can't have 2,000 computers. We will write to NASCOM, we will write to some others, saying that can you please arrange for used 2,000 computers, whatever, it could be 386, it doesn't matter, they will live with it. But to date, with the help of Tata Steel, L&T, TCS, and so many other corporates, IBM, we have not even reached 500 as a number. Of course, this is not a business assignment for us, this is more of charity, but unless the basic infrastructure is there in school, and then we are talking one computer in a school, where is the question of having to provide homework and 360-degree feedback and Facebook and Twitter, all of that. Of course, in big cities, the situation is very different. So there are three things that I wanted to specifically talk about. Before that, in technology broadly, those of you who are already engaged in technology ventures, what sells is largely two different types of technologies. One is within the class technology, the other is outside the class technology. Everything else is Twitter, Facebook, all that is noise. If it is there, it is there. If it's not there, it's not there. But to achieve the basic purpose of education, so the basic purpose of education, just for for us to be on the same page, is twofold. The one purpose of education is to create knowledge. The second purpose of education is to disseminate knowledge. ICT fits in beautifully well in second purpose. But to create knowledge is not a function of just a piece of technology. You need to have, it's not that, just because I know how, H2 plus O makes water, I will be able to create further knowledge. That's a function of mind, at least till now. So these two types of technologies, within the class technology and outside the class technology, are different, need different approach, because if you map who's going to use the technology, within the class is largely the teacher and the student. There's this big saying that the role of teachers has changed or is changing because of technology. Especially when after Bill Gates said that technology can do wonders, which it has done in various formats. And the role of teacher, as they said, it is quote unquote from sage at the stage to guide by the side. With the help of technology. So earlier the teacher was sage at the stage. Jo bol diya, teacher has said, it is all right. Now it is guide by the side. If the students have access to information, they can go and ask the teacher, sir, you are saying that Pluto is a part of the solar system, but actually I read on the internet for a few years now it is not being considered, and there's some discussion going on, and Wikipedia and all of that. So then the teacher says, yeah, you are right, let me also learn, get myself updated, and not use 30 years old, my old whatever reference booklet. So these two are very different, because in class technology, and of course those, if anyone is from EduComp and other companies, next I can see one person. These companies have mastered the art of in-class, within the class technology, which is basically largely around content and dissemination of content, how effectively you can share content within the classroom. And the other side, where the two key stakeholders are teacher and the student, which is primary. The second is, which is peripheral, that's around the teachers community and the staff administration community, the parent community, and the overall stakeholder, the overall community, our society in which we live, which also has prospective students coming in. So those two technologies are quite different, and we must try and have different approaches to build and deliver and sell those solutions to education institutions. Another fundamental difference, which again, if we copy US models and map to India models, it's a big change, and also is a high barrier for ICT players in India is to understand the difference between the consumer and the customer. In most of the successful companies across the globe in ICT in education, in many cases you will find that the customer and the consumer of the services are the same. But in India, we are yet to evolve, get evolved picture of the market, or the market is like really in very nascent stage. But the one who consumes and the one who pays are very different. Their expectations are different, their requirements are different, their approach towards ICT is very different. So while on the one hand the student community may be saying we are ready for the assignments on the web, or we are ready for learning on tablet, for example, but someone who has to pay, whether it is parents or staff or whatever, different models, may not be ready. So for anyone to approach educational institutions from the perspective of making money, it's hard, not just because they have limited budgets. It's a scattered industry. It is extremely skewed, with 95% of institutions, or rather 90% of institutions having extremely limited budgets. Of course, there are the likes of IB and CBSE, and also certain private universities that are ready to pay money. So three thoughts, as I said. One is, especially for ICT players, one is the purpose. So pretty much, and education in India is in very bad shape. It is in early stage, but technology has matured. So it's a very funny combination. Technology, you go and you'll find, whatever you can think of can be translated in technology. You say that, I want something to be integrated with my identity card. People will say, oh, near field communication is there. You want QR code, you want barcode, you want Bluetooth enabled stuff, you want those cameras integrated with various central system servers, all that is there. But then the education institutions are not yet ready. So that brings us to 3 points that I wanted to discuss. And one is the purpose. What is it that you are building technology for? What is it that what is it that is the main problem that you are trying to solve? So it can't be learning, for example. Everybody, it's like, if you relate it with car industry, of course, car is there to take a person from place A to place B. Communication is there to move some bytes and bits of data, whether it is simple or gigabytes or whatever, from one place to another. So that is given, that will happen. But what is it that you are solving? What is it that you are addressing? Is it a real problem? So that piece has to be, and I think Saket also touched upon it. The second is this entire thing of target audience. Who are you making your technology for? Is it the staff, the school? Whose problem are you solving? Is it the parents, like this Norton Symantec example? Or is it the student? Is it the teacher? Is it the research side of people? Is it some other stakeholder within the education ecosystem? So that's the second thing. And the third and the last thing is the process of development. And this, I think, is very unfortunate scenario in India. This is more from ICT perspective. All the companies, at least the local, the Indian based companies, most of them, if not all, that have developed products have not taken considerable inputs from people on the ground. So this entire concept of saying, mere paas to technology, and technology has these 500 features, it should work, it will work. Maybe all right in some particular context, but when the moment you go and take it to in real life scenario, the requirements are very different. So for example, we were working with the affordable private school chain. They have about south based about 80 schools, 75 schools in one of the southern states, And they adopted something very similar, saying that अब तो सब कुछ online कर देंगे, because we are not just we'll have bang for the buck, and with very limited real estate. Real estate is expensive. We will have everything online, everything technology enabled. वो घर जाके बच्चे पढ़ेंगे. And they are their fee point is about 1,100. Realize that, and then they said that we will also go ahead and get some just screens, and those can be connected with television cable, this, that, a lot of things they tried to do. But they realized that later on that most of the households of their children, and they just wanted to do this experiment from class 5 to class 7 to start with, before they roll it out for the entire school. So class 5, class 6 and class 7 in select schools, when they actually launched this entire technology intervention, saying ab ghar pe sab ho jayega, whatever the teacher teaches, videos will be available, all of those things, only to realize that many homes had just one room. And the parents said, tum kya kar rahe ho sham ko, it is time for us to watch TV. How can you just do this revision thing, just move away? It's not technology's fault. Technology is there. It is not teachers' fault, the principals or the institution's fault. It's not students' fault. It's not parents' fault also. After a day of hard work, at least half an hour of news or whatever the Star Plus serial they may want to watch. But then it is a piece of technology, an offering which was designed not keeping the stakeholders in mind. So my submission is that follow this concept of co-creation, and not just technology for the sake of technology, but technology that makes meaning for the end users, for which, again, going one step back, we have to really define who the end user is, and again linking it with the purpose of why we are doing, what is it that what problem it is that we are trying to solve. So these are my views, and I'll be happy to take questions either now or in panel discussion or whenever. Thank you.